Welcome to a deep dive. Today, we're tackling a really significant and, frankly, quite unsettling event reported in Colombian politics. We're basing this on a news article you've shared with us.
That's right. We're going to explore the recent attempted assassination of a pretty high-profile political figure using this specific report, as our guide.
And our mission for this deep dive is essentially to cut through any noise, pull out the essential facts presented here, understand the immediate context, and really dig into the different reactions laid out in this article.
Exactly.
The goal is to get you quickly and clearly informed on what this particular source tells us.
And the event itself is, well, it's a powerful hook, isn't it? An attempted assassination, a potential presidential candidate. And it triggers these immediate, very varied political responses. It really shows just how high the stakes are in this situation.
Okay, so let's unpack this article then. First off, let's focus on the event itself, what actually happened, according to this reporting.
So the central figure here is Colombian Senator Miguel Uribe Turbay. He's 39 years old.
Right.
And the article identifies him as a possible right-wing candidate for the country's next presidential election. That's scheduled for, May 2026?
And he'd already announced his bid, hadn't he, back in March?
Yes, he did.
He's part of the right-wing Democratic Center Party that's former President Alvaro Uribe's party. But the article, interestingly, makes a point of noting they share the name but aren't related.
Yeah, that's a key detail they included. And the article also brings in a pretty significant piece of his family background.
Oh, yeah.
His father was a journalist who was kidnapped and killed back in 1991.
Wow.
Which, as the report notes, was during one of Colombia's most violent periods. So that adds this layer of historical resonance, you could say.
Definitely. And the event we're talking about was an assassination attempt. It happened during a campaign rally.
Correct. On June 8th, 2025.
And the location?
It was held in a park in the Fontaban neighborhood in Bogota. And the report gives some really specific, quite graphic details about how it went down. A gunman shot him from behind. He was shot twice in the head and once in the knee.
Twice in the head? Wow, those are incredibly serious injuries. What does the article say about his condition right after?
Well, he was airlifted immediately to the Santa Fe Clinic in Bogota. Critical condition.
Okay.
The clinic's statement, included in the article, noted he underwent both a neurosurgical procedure and a peripheral vascular procedure. So, major surgeries.
Yeah, sounds like it. The Bogota mayor, Carlos Fernando Galan, is quoted saying the senator overcame the first surgical procedure.
Right. And there's also this particularly poignant detail from an audio recording from his wife, which the article mentions.
What does she say?
She apparently said he came out well from the surgery and that he fought the first battle and fought it well. But she also emphasized that he is fighting for his life. That's still very touch and go.
Understandably. And was he the only one injured?
No, the violence wasn't limited just to him. The report mentions two other people, a man and a woman, were also wounded in the shooting.
Okay. And Senator Uribe Turbay wasn't alone at the rally itself, right? The article says he was with others.
Yeah, he was accompanied by Councilman Andres Barrios.
Yeah.
And about 20 other people were there at the time.
And there was an arrest made right at the scene.
Yes, that's confirmed in the report by the Colombian police chief, General Carlos Triana. A 15-year-old boy was apprehended right there with a firearm.
A teenager.
Yeah. And interestingly, the article adds that this minor was also being treated for a leg injury. So, lots of moving parts there.
Okay, that really lays out the facts of the attack itself, as reported. What did the article then say about the immediate aftermath, the official response?
Well, the Attorney General's office, according to the report, has taken charge of the investigation into the shooting. That happened quickly.
Right. And the Colombian government also moved fast, offering a reward for the capture of, well, everyone responsible for the attack.
Yeah, and the article also mentions the defense minister, Pedro Sanchez. He issued a directive ordering the military, police forces, intelligence agencies, basically everyone, to deploy all their capabilities to urgently clarify the facts. So it clearly shows a very high level of official concern and action right away.
Okay, so beyond the official investigation and security response, how did the political world react, both inside Colombia and, internationally, based on this article?
Okay, starting within Colombia, Senator Uribe's own party, the Democratic Center, the right-wing party, they put out a statement, called it, quote, an unacceptable act of violence. Pretty direct.
And President Gustavo Petro, the article points out he's Colombia's first leftist president. How did he react?
He posted on X, formerly Twitter. The quote included is, respect life. That's the red line.
Simple but strong.
Yeah. And then shortly after that, according to a presidential statement mentioned in the article, he actually canceled a planned trip to France.
Oh, really?
Specifically due to the seriousness of the events, is what the statement said.
Wow, okay. What about his immediate circle, supporters? How did they respond as reported?
The article includes a couple of reactions there. One from a businesswoman, Carolina Gomez, who's quoted saying, "Our hearts are broken, Colombia hurts." Captures that sense of shock.
Yeah.
It also describes relatives and friends waiting, anxiously for news at the clinic and people gathering outside to pray. A real sense of community concern.
And former President Alvaro Uribe from the same party also weighed in.
He did. The article quotes him saying, "They attacked the hope of the country, a great husband, father, son, brother, a great colleague." Very personal terms there.
Okay, so strong reactions within Colombia. Now, you mentioned international reactions. The article suggests those were particularly noteworthy.
Yes, this is where, as you said, the reporting highlights something really interesting. The reactions weren't, let's say, uniform in their phrasing or focus.
How so? Let's start with the U.S. reaction mentioned.
Okay, so from the United States, the article cites U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He condemned the attempted assassination in the strongest possible terms. Standard enough, perhaps?
Yeah.
But then, Rubio called the shooting a direct threat to democracy. And this is the key part the article highlights. He went further, making a very specific political accusation.
Which was?
He linked the attack, and I'm quoting the article summary here, to the violent leftist rhetoric coming from the highest levels of the Colombian government.
Wow, okay, that's direct. Did he elaborate?
The article says he urged President Petro, quote, to dial back the inflammatory rhetoric and protect Colombian officials. And he even brought up Colombia's past, warning against a return to those dark days of political violence. That's a very pointed reaction, and the article really spotlights it.
It definitely stands out. How did that compare to other reactions reported from the region, Latin America?
Well, the article mentions other Latin American leaders reacted, but with maybe a different framing. Chile's President Gabriel Boric, for instance.
What did he say?
He stated more broadly, "There is no room or justification for violence in a democracy."
Okay, a general condemnation of political violence.
Exactly. And Ecuador's president, Daniel Noboa, is quoted similarly. "We condemn all forms of violence and intolerance." Both of them also offered solidarity to the senator's family.
So reading between the lines of the article, you see this clear contrast being presented, general condemnations from neighbors versus a very specific politically charged accusation from the U.S. official mentioned.
Precisely. The article lays out those different responses side by side.
Okay, so let's try to wrap this up. Taking all this information from the article together, the attack, the condition, the investigation, these varied reactions, what does it all mean? What are the key takeaways we can distill from just this one report?
Well, I think what really stands out looking just at this article is how quickly an attack like this on a prominent opposition figure, especially with election season kind of looming,
Yeah.
how quickly it becomes a focal point for existing political tensions, both inside Colombia and, as we saw, outside the country, too.
Yeah, the article presents the Colombian government's response as, focused on the crime itself, the investigation, security directives, the reward, standard procedure, maybe.
Right. But then it juxtaposes that with the U.S. reaction reported, which explicitly links the attack to political rhetoric from the highest levels of that same government.
That difference in framing, as the article lays it out, is pretty telling, isn't it? About the divisions and the different ways this event is being interpreted or at least portrayed.
Absolutely. And this specific reporting really underscores the seriousness of the event. It's framed not just as a violent crime, but immediately discussed as a potential threat to democracy itself.
And it brings up those painful memories, as Rubio's comment did, of Colombia's violent past.
Exactly. It shows how quickly an act of violence like this can get tangled up with political accusations and become a real flashpoint. The article captures that immediacy.
It really highlights, based on this reporting, maybe the fragility of the political climate there, and how international commentary, like the specific U.S. one featured here, can add another complex layer to the narrative around a domestic event.
For sure. The immediate focus, obviously, is on the senator's recovery and the investigation finding out who did this and why. But the varied reactions that this article compiles really illuminate the underlying political volatility.
So we've walked through the details of the attack on Senator Uribe Duterte, the immediate official responses within Colombia, and the quite diverse range of political reactions, both domestic and international, all as captured in this single news report.
And this event, as it's reported here, is clearly sending ripples through the political landscape and, yeah, stirring up those historical echoes we mentioned.
So maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over, based strictly on what we've discussed from this source. Given these details, the specific targeting of this opposition figure, his history, the immediate reactions inside Colombia, and especially that stark contrast presented between the general condemnations from regional neighbors and the pointed political accusation highlighted from the U.S. official, what does this single report suggest about the deep currents of tension and division within Colombian politics right now, as framed here? And how might those external viewpoints, like the specific one from the U.S. emphasized in the article, influence how this event is ultimately understood or spun? That's something this article really prompts you to consider.